How we doing, folks? It's great to be back. This is Mike. I'm joined by Mike today, and we have a lot to get to. Um, Mike, I come to you as a friend. Um, it wasn't everyone's weekend. It can never be, but I think you had an especially hard one. I take it away.
Yeah. If anyone lives under a rock, the Cowboys lost.
Oh, did they? Everyone loses, right?
They lost by 38 points.
Oh, 30. I mean, it must have been a blowout in the first half. Someone must have gotten injured, right? It wasn't, they had to have stopped like beating him down at some point, right?
No. Instead, they went for payback from the Cowboys winning because of the controversial the lineman
Week 17
didn't become
last
eligible.
year.
Yeah.
Something.
So they decided to make that same guy eligible on the first and last play of the game. They threw a pass in the end zone to a lineman just to have fun.
I think they did it 3 times.
They did a hook and ladder with Penny Sewell. I mean, they just absolutely rubbed it in our face, and we never had a chance.
There's a lot to break down in this game. I'll give my flowers to myself right now and say I predicted it. And then that's all you got to hear, because there's a lot to get to. There's just a lot of different pieces you can break down. There's a whole Lions Dan Campbell side of this that you already pointed to. What I want to know is this, in your mind, a turning point for the Dallas Cowboys? You take a zoom out 10 years from now and you look back at this game. Maybe it wasn't actually this game, and you can go for even further back and really see, the snowball. But for how you're feeling right now, is this different? Is this different?
It really makes you think, if Jerry Jones wasn't the owner and the GM, how many years ago would an owner have fired Jerry Jones as the general manager of the Cowboys? Because it wouldn't have been this year, and it wouldn't have been last year. It would have been like the middle of the Jason Garrett stint, maybe. Maybe he somehow makes it through the Jason Garrett stint, but I just don't see a way that's possible. It's just like, I'd love to really get a true answer from Jerry Jones, which you never will, but like, what does he want? Is he just okay with owning the greatest sports business team in the history of sports? Is he okay with just building that brand? Because I guess any publicity is good publicity.
But it's already there, isn't it? Like, you bring up a great point. You're 83 yesterday. That was his birthday gift. But I think, what do you want's a great question, and this all comes back to Jerry Jones. Like, every discussion you have about the Cowboys comes back to Jerry Jones. You can blame it on Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, injuries, however you want. And you know what? Jerry Jones asked for that. That's what he said when he signed up for that. That's what he's always wanted. That's Jerry Jones. But the what do you want? Well, usually when someone gets old, they want fucking championships. And there's a difference between wanting it and just saying you want it, which he did. He said you're all in when you guys spent the least money in the NFL this offseason. So
yeah, they lost again in the first round. They couldn't win a playoff game last year, just like has been the same issue the last 15 years.
Old people are
They
weird.
went out and got nobody in the offseason. They have had injury after injury so far this season and done nothing about it. The team wasn't good enough the past few years, and he did nothing to fix that. Literally nothing. No coaching changes, no personnel changes. He was just like, we're going to be better next year because we're the Dallas Cowboys, and that just...
And fans believe him, is the sad thing. I call you delusional, but you're a ball knower, right? I mean, you're coming to me now, and that's just... But you see it, right? Like, there's no denying it. And also, like, why would you want to put your balls in that corner, or whatever the expression is? Like, why would you be? Because, like, you can be delusional as a sports fan. I am. Like, I still got Howie Roseman as my GM, and I like Jeffrey Lurie, and Nick Sirianni's his own discussion point. But like, putting putting any hope in the Dallas Cowboys is really sad because they're not paying you back and they're relying on this market and this image that's already built and it peaked and now it's just going down. And it's because you're staying in that position, Jerry Jones. You're hurting a lot of true fans like Michael that just wants to see a regular football team. But instead, your decision, you brainwash yourself. Any decision you make or don't make, you say it's the right one because we're the Dallas Cowboys. And sometimes they even fake us on the field. They didn't do that on Sunday. That was a pure painting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you said, like, I'd love to see a normal football team. Like, honestly, not really. Like, that's one of the perks of being a Dallas Cowboy fan is that no matter what team is on the field, there's a target on your back. The rest of the league wants to beat the shit out of the Cowboys. There's a reason that the Cowboys don't blow teams out. Even like if you look back at the last 15 years, I can't remember the last time besides Dak Prescott's rookie year, which was just an anomaly, that they were consistently winning comfortable games because every team puts together their best performance to try and beat the Cowboys. Whether they're the best team in the league or the worst team in the league, there's a target on their back. It's very similar to playing as a New York Yankee. Or a New York Knick or in a big city like that where there's a spotlight on you. And if you just want to be a professional athlete, go play for the Cleveland Browns or the Jacksonville Jaguars, where you're not going to be in prime time under the spotlight all the time. But if you're going to go play for the New York Knicks, the New York Yankees, the Dodgers, the Dallas Cowboys, like the New York Giants, Daniel Jones can't handle the pressure. Dak Prescott can't handle the pressure. The Cowboys, not good enough to handle the pressure. You have a target on your back 24/7, no matter if you're deservingly good enough to get that or not. And they are not producing. The players on the field are not good enough. There's no culture. There's no fight. They've gotten blown out in all 3 home games this year, where that's actually been their saving grace the past few years. That's what really rips the hope away is if you can't do it at home, how are you going to do it anywhere or at any time?
Roger, this is why we do the podcast. We need this therapy. You feel better, right? You feel better.
I guess so.
We're not tweeters. Like, we don't just get to go on Twitter, and we will be someday, but like, this is what we get, you know?
Maybe I will say I am really happy because before last week I discussed with you, and honestly it was on me because I totally forgot as I was doing the podcast by myself. I was so confident.
Thanks, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. I was so confident going into last week, big game, Lions, after a gritty win against the Steelers, going into this tough stretch. I said to you, I'm going to run a mile for every point that the Cowboys lose by in every game that they lose the rest of the season. That's how confident I was. Yeah. Now, thank whatever higher power is above us that I forgot to say that because if I had to run 38 miles,
oof,
I don't know. I'd still be running. I don't know.
How would I do that? You wouldn't have been able to do it.
No.
There's no way. In one day, I thought you meant like during the week, which like even that's what, 7 miles a day still? Oh my God.
Yeah. I thought it would be a good challenge. Like maybe they lose a game by like
you forgot they suck 10. Actually. Maybe they lose by 10. Football team. It seems like you've had some realizations now, which could be my downfall. I'll always remember the words you just said because I feel like you're coming to a big, and the sad part about it, but like just the reality of sports, like there's nothing you can do about it. Like we just get to fucking complain, and Jerry Jones is just gonna keep the team. I mean, we saw it with the Commanders for 15 years. They were begging for Dan Snyder to get out of town, and he was finally forced to. Jerry Jones ain't leaving that team, and guess what? Stephen Jones isn't either. And I don't know. I feel bad. I'll listen. I have my own shit to talk about. We can talk about it if you want. We can talk about other games. Let's move on from the Cowboys. One thing we'll say about Lions Detroit is like I think Detroit is the best football team in football right now. So I do think you lost to that, and not to mention an angry and pissed off Dan Campbell is a lot. The home thing's weird. If you didn't have anything to add, I just think Detroit, they can play any style of football. The defense is fast. I know they lost Hutchinson. I honestly don't mind that much. They still got after Dak. And I know that O-line's shit, but
Yeah, I don't think that means too much. I think the problem with the Lions is the aggression of Dan Campbell.
yeah, I mean,
And
sure.
it benefits them 95% of the time. But like we saw in the playoff game last year when they lost to the 49ers, they had that game won.
Yeah.
And his aggression got the best of him, got the best of the team, and he didn't know how to win that game. To close up on the Cowboys real quick, I just don't know where we go from here because Jerry Jones isn't okay with being bad.
That's what I was
I'll
getting
admit,
at. Like,
they're gonna finish like one game away from the playoffs. They're gonna get the 15th draft pick. They're gonna draft some mediocre guy that probably is gonna be shit, and then they're just gonna be stuck in mediocrity again. And that's the problem: is just be bad for 2 or 3 years. But no, now you have
no.
Dak Prescott locked in for the next 3 years, who clearly is not the guy. I mean, like I've said since Dak Prescott joined the league, he's maybe aside from Brock Purdy, who's just an anomaly situation. I fucking hate Brock Purdy. He's the best game manager that we've possibly ever seen in the NFL. But when he's asked to do more than be a game manager and be an elite quarterback, he's not. And we're seeing that.
Nope.
And we're seeing that he's clearly not worth $60 million a year.
No.
But there's nothing we can do about it. So I have to be somewhat delusional and hope, because having no hope is really fucking sad. So I'm going to continue to watch Cowboys games.
You still had to pay him. Like, yeah, no. I mean, hey, listen, there's, I don't feel bad. I hate the Cowboys, but it is weird that like a lot of fans are like, not even, the realization of just everything from a clear headspace, not a non-biased one, but just the fact that like it's hard. There's no paths right now. Like the cool thing about I'm trying to think of a team that's a good example. Oh, like even the Patriots this week. Like Drake May came in. There was a great interception ball. Like, guess what, Patriot or not interception? Sorry, good touchdown. Right, first career touchdown. End of the half, like a 40-yard bomb. It was beautiful. It was a great throw. And you know what? They're going to watch that highlight like a gazillion times. I remember when Carson Wentz did that in his first game against the Browns. It was like a beautiful 30-yarder. I watched that shit on replay over and over. Text your closest Patriots friend right now. Ask him how many times he's watched that highlight. I bet you the over-under is 100. But that's the type of excitement they get now. Like, they're bad. They're way worse than the Cowboys. Cowboys would smoke them.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what? Way happier than Cowboys fans right now. And that's how football works. And Cowboys have none of that. It's sad. Not really.
Yeah, I think you just got to chalk it up and let all these young guys play. Let them get experience. Like, I don't know if this is me once again getting delusional, but the healthy Cowboys roster isn't that far off.
Yeah. I mean,
the offense has weapons. The O-line will get more experience this year and will get better.
I don't know half the roster. There's some people I've never heard of on that defense.
Right, but they don't belong on the field.
Okay, I mean, like, it's not like there's people just waiting to get in. I know DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons and Eric Hendricks, but like, just name 3 guys.
Bland.
Okay, not every team can stay 100% healthy. These are the people that you drafted, Jerry Jones, the GM, and he didn't draft well. Sorry, there might be 1 or 2 guys, but, depth is a part of this. The Cowboys have been like this forever. They've always relied on their front lines. I remember if that offensive line, one guy went down, it was shaky. Like, that was how you would beat the Cowboys in their best teams with Tony Romo. Like, they always had the good O-line. They had a couple guys on defense, and whenever Romo or Dak got hurt, they would suck. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the Cowboys. We're not going to be this top to bottom super deep team. Jerry Jones is going to go get the stars, and if the stars get injured or don't produce, then you're in trouble.
Amari Cooper produced, and he got traded today. Again, not this time, not from the Cowboys. But
there's clearly something wrong with him. He can't
I
stay
think
on
it's a
the
good
team.
move. I think Josh Allen's going to throw a lot of balls to Amari Cooper, and they're going to be caught. I think he's a good wide receiver. I mean, he had to have been asking. He's like, listen, if you're going to keep throwing Deshaun Watson into the game, then come on, like you can't just keep me here, you know? Hey, you think you have it bad? The Browns have it bad. Let's talk about them and the Eagles.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was a scary game.
no, I wasn't scared. They're ever.
Well, I texted you. I texted you before the game, and I said there's either two ways that this goes. The Eagles finally fucking blow out a bad team, and it's this sweat-free, awesome performance, and it's beautiful at home. They dog the worst team in the NFL, possibly, or it's the super sweaty, gritty, uncomfortable win that they pull out. Never did I think the Eagles were going to lose, but it was the latter of the options. And how do you feel after that win?
I mean, listen, like when we look back at the season, this is probably the last game I'll remember. It's one of those just like week 5 random ones that you're like, oh yeah, that game did happen. Like that's what this game was. We listen. I mean, they didn't score a touchdown, so the defense did their job. We had one weird blocked field goal at the end of the half that gave the Eagles a very big reason to boo. And there's a lot of yells at Sirianni right now, and I was one of them. I know everyone has seen the clip of him after the game chanting the fans. I mean, even he came out and apologized for it. I think Nick Sirianni's a really weird dude. I also see that players do buy into him, like not just Kelsey and Fletcher Cox that have retired, but like when he did go up to the fans in the stands, like Brandon Graham and a few other players were like laughing at him doing it. So I think Nick Sirianni thinks he has like a role on this team. Like I always would reference as the CEO, but like he's the fun like tech startup CEO that's like trying to be cool, but everyone knows he's not cool. But they're like, they think it's funny that he's like not cool. That's what I think Nick Sirianni is. And sometimes it's too much. And obviously, I would rather, and I think most Eagles fans can relate, have a Mike Vrabel type figure in the building versus Nick Sirianni. I won't argue with that. I'm a football guy. Like, give me the football player that was at the line of scrimmage that's just like a man's man, right? But we don't have that right now. And we have Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni did take us to a Super Bowl. And it probably was not him. But he's been there, right? So I'm going to start giving a little bit of more faith in my guy. He's getting a lot of hate right now. And you know what I like? He's taking it all. Like, yeah, blame everything on me. Like, that's what the coach should be doing. Jalen, we'll talk about the rest of the game. But I figured Sirianni was the biggest talking point of the Eagles game. And, especially because of the performance on the field. I'm not happy, right? But let me give a little pushback. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. I just think your take is just odd.
Why?
I think the fact that players are laughing at him is embarrassing. That they
It was
don't
like
respect
no, but it was one of
him.
those laughs like like my boy, or like coach, not like a loser. Like he was laughing because they were saying
players
he was saying some shit to the fans.
Joy in my coach in that way.
No, that's a good point, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I'll tie this. We don't have to get too deep into it, but I'll tie this to Carlos Rodon, who had an incredible game 1 outing and said that he learned and took away from Garrett Cole and his composure, and that he doesn't have to scream and roar and go crazy after every strikeout. It's the same when Aaron Rodgers told Robert Saleh a few weeks ago to fucking chill the fuck out because the game wasn't over after they scored a touchdown. Like,
you're missing the point, though.
You've been there before.
Yeah.
You've been to a Super Bowl. You've had good teams. Like, when you barely beat a shitty football team at home by 4 points, like, act like you've been there before.
You're
Let
right.
the product on the field shut up the fans. You don't need to go chirp the fans because you won the football game, and that should enough shut up the fans.
Yeah, you are absolutely right.
I think he's just childish and immature.
I came out only talking about the other half of this. I probably should have led with like, you can't do that. Like, it's the 4-point Browns win at home. Not acceptable. And there's just still so much stupid shit that they got to clean up. But I mean, we probably wouldn't win that game if we didn't have AJ Brown again. Let alone Devontae Smith. They both had a touchdown. Jalen Hurts is like 8-0 when they both have a touchdown. Yeah, no shit. I mean,
right. What a stat.
Obviously, they're gonna win if AJ Brown and Devontae Smith have a touchdown, or they'll have a excruciating loss. But we got guys, right? I have so many questions about the Eagles. Everyone does. I'm not gonna call them a good football team right now. I think they could become a good football team, and I expect them to become a good football team. Go fucking Birds! But I'll look at them, right? I'm not gonna put them in the top tier of football teams. I won't. I'll take a step back today because you have as well. But I'm still optimistic. You are not, which could turn around, and then I'm in the different boat, right? Like Eagles Cowboys Week 10 is coming up. By the way, can you come to Austin? I tried calling you today about it. You're done.
I can't.
I still haven't booked my flights from that work trip, so I'm like, I almost did it today, and I was like, fuck it, I'll figure it out. Like people will be down there. I still might do it. If you're listening to this podcast and you live in Austin, can I sleep on your couch? I don't even need a couch. I got a guy on my couch right now. Our friend Kevin Hawley. He'll make an appearance soon. He's my dog for the next week or two. He's a good pet. He does good.
You letting him off the leash?
Yeah. We walked to get pizza today together. It was good. He doesn't say much, but I talk a lot. Like, dude, we smoked a little J. I was just rambling. I just the randomest stuff, and he's a good listener. At least I think. Just like,
a dog,
right? It's not a diss. It's just if anything, it's good. Who doesn't like dogs? I love Kevin. Oh, thanks, Kev. He goes, that's just like a dog. All right. Anyways.
Well, I do have one question.
What?
What's up with the jacket? Is it cold in your place?
Actually, that's a great segue. I'm done on the Birds. Welcome back, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Winter's coming. The NFC North is dumb gas right now. Dumb ice right now. Kirk O'Chains, right? Oh, wait, he's not even in it anymore. I led that wrong. It was almost cool. Vikings
almost
5-0. The 4th seed Packers are 4-2. And the 4 top point differentials for teams in the NFL this year, all the NFC North. So 6 games, right? That's a lot to work with.
Yeah.
What a division right now. Do you have a prediction before we talk about it? Who is going to win the division?
I think I'm going to stick with who I took before the season, which, if I remember correctly, is the Green Bay Packers.
I think I took the Packers too. I don't think there's any way I took the Lions.
I think if I had to pick a second team, I would take the Vikings.
You would take both of see.
And if I had to pick a third team, I would take the Bears
over the Lions.
Lions, no chance they win the division.
Did you not just? I mean, I guess you could blame some of this on Aiden Hutchinson, but it's the Lions, dude. They are the 2022 Eagles. They're just dominant. They are going to be favored in every single football game. If the Chiefs came to Detroit, they would be favored. No, and if they aren't, they should be, and I'm hammering them. I think they're like 2-point favorites to the Vikings next week. Might be my lock of the week. I don't like betting the same team 2 weeks in a row, but listen, those lines are only going to be little for a while. That team can blow you out. There's teams that say that it's like the opposite bye week when you play the Lions. Like, there's a stat out there. Go look it up. I'll try and find it. But it's something about how the teams the next week after playing the Lions are terrible because they're just dead. Like, it's a different type of football. I think I texted you over the weekend. I was like, the Lions are like the only elite football team, like just head to toe. Like they just feel like a football team. Like, you have every part, even the coach, right? Fan base, all of it. Chiefs are missing some pieces. Ravens missing some pieces. Definitely the Eagles, Bills, right? But the Lions feel like the only complete team. They remind me of what like the Niners and the Eagles were the past 2 years. I think that's the Lions now. I think they're the team.
I think you're way too high on the Lions after beating a sorry Cowboys team.
I don't
The
think
Lions
anyone
are
else
good.
can do that. I don't think anyone else can do that the way they did it.
We watched the Saints do it in week 2, and the Saints are awful.
I think that was different though. Like I just feel like the Lions won. Like the Cowboys were like, I wouldn't say ready, like, but they quit. They definitely quit. But Dak was driving a couple times in the first quarter. Like they could have put points on the board, right? I think the Lions are just a little bit better at just like the little things. You can see it in their play designs, and they execute. I don't know.
I question their defense. I question their defense even more without Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're going to continue to blow out teams. They're a playoff team. They're a scary team. If I'm in the playoffs, I don't want to see them. I'm not saying they're bad because they're certainly not bad, but I don't think they're as complete as you think they are. I think you have this recency bias after last week. You're too high on them. Also, I'm officially a Dan Campbell hater. Great dude.
Ooh.
Great dude. Is he a coach that can win a Super Bowl? After the decisions that lost him games last year and the aggressive nature of his play calling and the decisions that he makes and his inability to change that when games are close and you have to just be okay, like running the ball 3 straight times or punting the ball on 4th and 1, like things like that, he won't do. And I think that's going to cost him games. And when you have to win 4 straight games in the playoffs, that'll cost him one of them. Won't be taking them to win the Super Bowl. Will be taking them to get upset sometime early in the playoffs.
I still like the Packers in that division. But, you brought up people that you're out on. You said Dan Campbell. I got to talk about a guy that I've always been on. Talked about him a lot on the pod so far. But it all comes back to the big news of the day. We hit Amari Cooper first just because that's us. But Devontae Adams was traded from the Raiders to the Jets. The Jets also, a week ago on this day, fired Robert Saleh. 2 very, very, very big decisions that, obviously benefit one person in that building. And I'm a little bit out on Aaron Rodgers.
Me too.
I'm a little bit done. I can't defend him anymore, dude. Like, this is ridiculous. I hate this because now I'm sounding like my dad, and I liked being the guy that like actually respected Aaron Rodgers, like, and wasn't the guy that hated him. But like, dude, you're making it impossible. You fire the coach, clearly. You come out, you say it wasn't me. Like, yeah, obviously you're gonna say that, dude. You're telling me you had nothing to do with Robert Saleh getting fired in week 5 when the Jets head coach waited for Adam Gase, or owner, right? I mean, and then you get, you trade their future for Devontae, not future, but Garrett Wilson, like, what is he? And he's just yelling at people. He comes to the sideline. He's never happy. It's like, would Josh Allen ever do this? No. I love Josh Allen, man. Like, he deserves my love. Aaron Rodgers, I forget how good of a football player you are. Listen, this love, like, this heart's only so big, especially for quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't want to give it to you anymore. I want to give it to where people that deserve it. So I'm not, this is hard to support, Mike, right?
No, I think you said it well. And I was going to bring up, like, it's time to start talking about the fact that he's running that team. And that just doesn't happen in the NFL.
In New York.
You see it, right. You see it in the NBA only with LeBron James, who clearly, wherever he goes, wherever he's gone, he's brought in his guys, he's brought in his coach, he runs the team, he makes the decisions. It's whatever to please LeBron.
It's a great
LeBron
comparison.
is either the number 1 or number 2, if whatever your opinion is, best basketball player ever in the history of the sport. Respectfully to Aaron Rodgers, he has 1 championship. He's nowhere near that level, and he nowhere near deserves to be able to do that. And I think the Jets were so desperate that they handed him the reins, so I don't blame him
There you
because
go.
if
Yeah.
I was him, I'd do the same thing. Why not? I'm
Yeah.
great and the rest of the team sucks. I'll do what
And,
I want.
and your
And they're
fans are
letting me.
excited. Like, yeah. And, quarterbacks don't fall off trees. They had to throw the bag at the best one there. Just happened to be Aaron Rodgers. But this is what comes with Aaron Rodgers. And this is what we've also known. And it's very, I mean, listen, he had another Hail Mary. Like, he still zips the ball. He's still Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is winning another Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl in his second year? Like, don't you think that there's been some development in his brain to lead to him not winning another Super Bowl? Listen,
Are
that
you
could be a
saying
little.
that the ayahuasca is
I'm not
not
saying
helping
that.
him?
No, people change for a lot of different reasons. It's not always just because of drugs. Like, you become famous, you go through a breakup, a family member dies. In his case, his family, he doesn't talk to him, right?
Yeah, he's a
So
weird dude. He
there's
doesn't
he's a
talk to his
weird dude.
mom,
But he's
and he
and to your point, like, you don't give the weird dude your franchise. You don't give the weird dude the New York Jets. I don't care how good of a thrower the football is. You don't give it to him. It's like it's you can make a lot of comparisons right now, but yeah,
yeah, and the Jets have a losing culture. They have a fan base that's used to losing and booing. And ultimately, Aaron Rodgers, truly, to be fair, when he was great on the Packers, didn't have crazy offensive weapons, didn't
no,
have
never.
stud
I mean,
running backs. Like,
no,
he had one guy
yeah,
in Devontae Adams that he would feed the ball to. He had
mm-hmm.
some decent running backs, but like the Packers still built solid football teams, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to support him. And the Jets haven't done that. I mean, the fact that Hassan Reddick hasn't touched the field yet is
Insane.
unbelievable. And I don't know how people aren't talking about it. I was so
I
confident that after that week 1 embarrassment against San Francisco, that like Monday morning, we were going to hear the breaking news that he was getting paid.
Crazy holdout, and he just signed a new agent. Like, I think he might go back to the Eagles. I really do.
I have no idea. And Sauce Gardner doesn't look like the Sauce Gardner of
I
old.
I was never on as I think he's good, but like, there's also, I mean, Derek Stingley got drafted a spot above him, number 3 to the Texans, and I'm pretty sure they've played the same amount of games. And like, Derek Stingley's thing was like he didn't play because of the COVID year, and I think he's been better, and he doesn't get talked about, right? Same thing happens with receivers too. Like, there's probably guys that are more productive, better receivers, but like, some guys just get talked about more. It's just
I mean,
how, you know?
yeah, look at Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's always
Terry
been good.
McLaurin on like any other team in the league
Yeah,
where he actually could have a quarterback for more than a half a year at a time is a Hall of Fame receiver.
right. Same thing
But
with guys like Jalen Tolbert. Like, Cowboys fans are just going to talk about him and just say Jalen Tolbert. Sorry, I didn't have to do
that was wrong.
that. he had a good catch in that game.
Yeah, Dusty threw a parlay and actually ended up hitting it. I think part of it was Jalen Tolbert, 3 or more receptions.
Oh, bang.
And he asked me before the game, and I said, listen, CeeDee Lamb owns the Lions. Take every CeeDee Lamb prop.
Oh, no.
Clearly didn't work out, although
Nope.
his yards did hit.
Really?
I said, don't get anywhere near Jalen Tolbert because he had one good week
Yeah.
and didn't listen to me.
He gassed you up.
Yeah, but before we get too deep into Jalen Tolbert or Terry McLaurin,
I had something.
You had something?
I had something. Were you setting me up for the transition?
I was going to, but what do you got?
I should have been on it. Well, I was gonna talk about another potential trade because Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. Rest in peace, man. That's it wasn't the video that got me. When you listen to it a second time, you can hear it snap. That was the part that was like, when you go underwater and you like snap and you're like, ooh, that sounded like I was crispy. Like, that's what it sounded like. And it was not crispy. It was quite disgusting, actually. modern technology. Shout out the fucking doctors. Shout out the medical salespeople that are like, yo, you need to fix your leg. Take this. Do you come back the same person after that? I know it's hard to talk about after a game. I should probably reach out to my friend Gavin, who's a diehard Cowboys fan or Cowboys Lions and cries about sports. So I don't know. It's bittersweet too. It's like when the Jets lost Rodgers last year in Week 1, but they still won the game. Like, this is kind of what that feels like for the Lions. He was the most important part of that defense. It wasn't even close.
And he was having his best season yet.
Oh my God, yeah. He had an argument for best in the NFL.
He
had
was
the argument.
I mean, definitely an argument for Defensive Player of the Year.
My God, yeah. He was probably leading it with all the sacks he had. So you don't have to answer that question. He'll be the same player. Let's just assume that. And it'll be a great story. And Detroit will love it. And I just hope it's not like no. I don't want to see this turn back. I like him too. He's great.
He's a good dude.
From the area. He'll come back. I just hope it's not like a Ryan Shazier comeback. It's like, I don't know.
Well,
who's been
only time will tell.
There's only so many guys that have like snapped their fucking leg. There's ACL tears every year. There's Achilles every year. I can only name a handful of people that have snapped their fucking leg in half.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh, but I'm not. This is a heavy situation. I'm gonna move on because I feel like I'm.
Yeah, well, you were going to talk about...
Oh, right, another trade.
The possible trade.
That's my brain right now. So Lions need somebody. A lot of people need somebody. Why not Max Crosby? I think I saw a video of him pushing a coach. Raiders suck. They just traded Devontae. Didn't get that much for him. Why don't you trade your other best player and start over like the Cowboys won't? So, Howie Roseman, I'm calling your name. Get Max Crosby on the Philadelphia Eagles. I would give 2 first rounders. They won't be good first rounders. I don't know. I love that we drafted corners this year. If you were going to draft, it would be edge. Probably I would be concerned about filling out the offensive line, but fuck it, dude. It's Max Crosby. Like, that guy, he's a different breed. I don't know if he's the best in the NFL. He's top 5 edge rusher, and I think he brings a different type of attitude to a locker room that a lot of teams would like. So that's my take.
Yeah, and everyone's talking about the Lions are the obvious fit. I don't think the Lions will do it. It doesn't seem like something that they would do.
I would respect it if Dan Campbell or whoever's truly running the team is like, you know what, this is a Super Bowl winning team. We're keeping it that way. Like, all the respect in the world. If you go out and make a move like that, fan base, I don't care what they give up. Any team that's like, we're all in, good.
And someone's going to do it.
Yep.
I mean, I would be shocked if he finishes the season on the Raiders.
I think he has like a tattoo and shit. Like, but I don't know. How much does that fucking matter, right?
Guys get a lot of tattoos, so.
Everything's worth a price. I hope the Eagles get him. God, we're not going to get him.
Yeah, is that even like a topic of speculation, or is this just you? Yeah.
We've been speculating about Max Crosby for a month now. It's, I do think there have been like deals the Eagles have made in the past that are because of the fan base. We'll just think of a guy where like, Howie, go get him. Alshon Jeffrey was one of those guys. Like, he got so much hype just from us being like, we want that guy. And then Howie actually got him. So, who knows? Anyways, I wanted to bring that up. We could talk. Well, what do you want to talk about? I have a couple more things.
I mean, we both hit our lock of the week.
We did both hit our lock of the week. We had good weeks. We went 8-6, both of us. Both hit lock of the week.
Over 500.
Mine was Lions. Yours was Bears again. Is that a 3-peat on the Bears?
2-peat.
2-peat. Almost a 3-peat.
Should have been a 3-peat.
Are you going to take him again? Are you going to take him again?
I don't know. I don't even know who they play. But they're a wagon, so probably.
I'll tell you who they play. But yeah, no, I had a great weekend. I told you before I was a Jamar Chase touchdown and a Ohio State win, and it was my like easiest lock of the parlay of having my best weekend. But I just had a good weekend. And I like good weekends. It was a good weekend. Birthday weekend, yeah, can't complain. Thanks for the birthday episode, by the way.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, you did good. I couldn't do a podcast that night. I just people wouldn't have liked it. It could have tanked the show. It could have been the end of the show.
That's what the people were saying.
Yeah. No. The 3 minutes was good. I didn't even get to like talk about how the Lions were gonna stop the Cowboys. So well. But
no, it was fun to like imagine why you made the picks that you made.
That is funny. I do like how you were like, yeah, Jaws, he's an idiot, and like, yeah, of course he took. Yeah, that was good.
And then when we both like took the Packers back-to-back weeks, that we both took the Packers and we both hit, and we both took the Steelers this week and they covered. So,
you don't see that every week.
Are we like? Are we?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked, Mike, because the answer is no, and here's why. Because everyone fucking won this week. I think it was the worst Vegas weekend like in a very, very long time. Probably since like the modern day sports books came out, right? So this is what Vegas wanted to happen. They wanted us to come week 6. It's not a lot of games. We still got 12 weeks left. And they have us. Oh man, because like I won, but I could have won one. So now it's just a taste. Now it's just a taste. I'm not going anywhere. I quit gambling a week ago. I'm back. I'm professional again. I can't lose. Like I see everything well. That's a bad place to be.
Yeah, I think the key is we have to focus on picking the better football team.
It's easy.
We can't start to think like, oh, the public went crazy. Now the public's gonna suck, or maybe the public goes on a heater. Like,
I totally agree.
We can't start thinking about Vegas because Vegas is like 50,000 steps ahead of us, and for whatever reason, they wanted the public to win. And the more that you start thinking about it, the more that you get in your own head.
Yeah.
And I've been really, really good at focusing on I know ball. And I can pick the better teams. And I think you fell into that weird little trap week 2 and 3-ish.
Yeah. And I was fading the public. I was like, I'm seeing ahead of the casino. No. And it'll probably change, and there will be weeks where like that is the better strategy. But like, listen, as a ball knower, as a sports fan, this is way more fun. You just take who you think's gonna win. I would wake up and I would just be like, I know this game. Like this team's going to win. Right. Mm-hmm. And I did that in college football. And I saw the board well. Like I took USC to cover. I took LSU to cover, Florida to cover. That was an easy spread. I mean, listen, let's talk about the Florida game real quick because rest in peace Gators. Man, that was one of my least favorite Gator losses. And we've had some bad ones, but like that one, dude, we dominated. We dominated in Neyland Stadium under the lights. Like we were the better football team for, I would argue, the whole game. The scoreboard didn't say it. It was so unfortunate. And you have your take about that. But man, that sucked.
I just think Billy Napier has no idea what he's doing. And the defense somehow is like really fucking good. I'm sure they'll shit the bed next week. But they were unbelievable, did not give up points. The offense was incredible. RIP to Graham Mertz because he had no one will remember him as a Florida Gator, but in like 5 years. But he was awesome, and he absolutely lays it on the line every single week. 2 gut-wrenching injuries in back-to-back years. To focus on the football game, like you said, the Gators were the better football team. Trace Mack sucks. He sucks again this week. The offense can't score touchdowns. DJ Lagway is a freshman who still isn't quite making the right decisions. You can see the potential. You can see the flash and the ability.
I thought he was bad.
Yeah, his decision making is that of.
And Graham Mertz was good before he got injured. It was. I mean, like he was having a good game. And I think the reason they didn't score was because of Billy Napier. I think he nailed it. College was great. I mean, that was an awesome day. I think I was drinking since Tuesday of last week. So I went like Tuesday to Friday because my birthday was Thursday. So Saturday came around and I was like, my friends were like, mimosas, here we go. And I was like, you know what? I'm 24. It's time for me to grow the fuck up. So I just drove to Breckenridge. I just spent the weekend there on the couch and watched football all weekend. And I needed that. I needed that a lot. I'm proud of myself. I also I do this a lot. There's like one day of the year where I'm like, I just wish I was at home watching sports all day. Like so much shit's going on. I'm glad I didn't miss that Saturday. It was a great Saturday. LSU, Ole Miss, great overtime game. Ohio State, Oregon, obviously. We both had Ohio State. I think we both really liked Ohio State. They could have won me a lot of money that game, but Eugene, Oregon's getting its fucking flowers right now. Let me say, people are loving that stadium and what it brought. College game
and
day.
Dylan Gabriel, good for that guy.
Yeah, he's a baller. He's like what? He's like a 5th round draft pick, maybe. I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, like he's not going to be.
He's like 35 already. So
is Cam Rising like actually 35? Or is that a joke? I'm like, how many years has he been at Utah?
This is his 7th year,
and he's coming back for an 8th, isn't he?
He is eligible for an 8th if he wants to.
He should absolutely do it. Just keep doing. See how long you can go.
Well, there's that tight end McCormick on Miami, who I think is in his 8th year, who actually played on Oregon beforehand. So that's fun.
This is interesting. So I texted you something else over the weekend, and this is a big subject. We can honestly end the pod here if we want, because this is big. But I got Kevin. He's trying to fall asleep, by the way, but he has to listen to me do a podcast. I have just one. I have rooms. It's a 1-bedroom, but it's this big circle. So you're kind of trapped with me. Point I'm getting at, I watched Monday Night Football last night with Kev. And Kev doesn't watch a lot of football like you and I do, Mike. Gravely, I know your roommate's the same way. So we're going to have them on next episode to help us with picks, to see if that works. But Kevin noticed the same thing that you and I have been, which is the NFL product sucks right now. The
Agreed.
NFL product sucks. And it's masked because it's the best sport in the world still. It has the best networks in the world. It has the best commentating world. It has the best fans, all the jazz. And the scores are still really close. And the divisions are still really close. But guess what? The football isn't as good. And that is so visible. I mean, there's been, the flags were the easiest thing to point out. Monday night was beyond anything I've seen before. It was every play. I mean, that's a national audience. Like, listen, I don't know what's going on. Betting has something to do with it. There's weird plays that people are calling out, like, oh, this was the line. There's just too much now. It's not football, right? That's what they're losing. They're losing football. That's why it's good, right?
Yeah, I just think ultimately, like, it's a contact sport. Like, shit happens. I understand it's dangerous and you have to try and protect the players, but they sign up to play a dangerous, aggressive sport where every time that you get the ball, you are going to either run out of bounds, run in the end zone, or get tackled.
Here's my thing, and I just thought of this now. Like, if you're concerned about the head stuff, you obviously should be, right? Everyone's human. But there becomes a point in your life where you get to make decisions for yourself. And if one of those decisions is making millions of dollars to be on the biggest athletic stage there is in the world, then yeah, people are going to do it. So just take away youth sports, right? You're not allowed to play football. It has to be flag football until you're 18 or some shit like that. And then you go to college, you learn for a year how to play the fucking tackle sport, and then you play tackle football, right? Like, that's a solution, okay? It doesn't have to be these weird flags and these weird rules that don't allow you to tackle the quarterback or just do basic fundamental football things that made the sport so great, and it's showing in the product.
I actually think, and this is going to be interesting, my least favorite flag that gets called like fucking crazy this year out of nowhere is the fucking illegal shifts.
Or the legal man downfield.
Well, the illegal shift is worse because a receiver goes in motion, which now is more common than ever because it helps the quarterback read the defense. Are they in zone or are they in man? And the receiver is like bouncing up and down or hasn't fully stopped or is leaning forwards and backwards and has no impact on the play. And then they go to throw the ball to someone else, and it's like a legal shift because the guy wasn't perfectly fucking still on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
Let them play the fucking game.
I mean,
I think the refs are so nervous about fucking up and not throwing flags that they just throw too many flags.
But some of these flags really, really influence the Vegas lines. And like, that's the name of the sport. That's what you signed up for. Did you not think this was going to happen? Did you not think people were just going to flood your sports books? And you put it down our face. Jared sent us that big article. I started reading most of it, but like, dude, there are some bad stories out there, and it is a mega billion-dollar market now. You don't think there's just voices? You don't think people are saying shit? And it sucks because I love the sport. I love football. I love the Philadelphia Eagles. Like they hold an actual, like, true, genuine place in my heart. Which is, if you want to call that sad, fine. Like that's just me. That's Michael Jaworowski, right? And this is, I don't know. I don't want to freak out completely, Mike, but like we're sounding the alarm a bit, right? There's some things that we just can't get behind. The whole concussion and like, the 2015 like Kaepernick stuff, like that felt like a downturn for the NFL. I never really bought that. I'm seeing something different now that's like really concerning.
Yeah, and I think more than the fixing of the games and the odds makers and all of that, I think there's another element, which is now you have 50,000 camera angles of every single play.
Oh, yeah.
So I think refs were making the same mistakes.
It's a great
40 years ago.
Great point.
But it wasn't on film.
Nope.
So even the Des Bryant catch, like that wasn't a catch, which was only 10-ish years ago. Like that was arguable because they still hadn't figured out what a catch was. So I guess a little different. But go back 25 years, if you throw pass interference, it's either pass interference or it's not. If you think the guy stepped out of bounds, you're going to say he stepped out of bounds. Like now you've got 50,000 angles and so much controversy, and refs are getting so much hate when they make the wrong call that I think they freak out and throw too many flags, and they just don't know what to do. So they're like, fuck it, I'll throw a flag.
That Monday night crew, like you could just tell they were like freaking out. Like
they had no idea what they were doing.
At one point, the main ref got like 2 flags, and he just like got up there and like set him super quick. He's like, I need to get off the stage. Like he was like, I've had enough. But they like, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck brought up a good point. They were like, wow, they are penalties, right? Like they do have to throw them. So like, you don't blame the refs, right? You can blame the flags, but the flags isn't just the refs' problem. It's because of these stupid rules in place that come from them trying to change the game for a lot of different reasons, right? That affects the product. That affects the flags, right? That's the chain of command with the NFL, and we're seeing it very visibly. It's sad.
Yeah, I'm not saying we should be okay with everyone getting concussions and CTE because obviously that's terrible. And we have the data from guys that played 30 years ago that are fucked up now. But this is public stuff. Everybody knows. And so if you still choose to play football, you are, in a way, risking your life.
Yep.
Whether now or in the future.
Yep.
Everybody knows. If you don't want to risk your life, go play flag football, which is now in the Olympics. So go have fun with that.
Right. Like that's just the thing about everything in just general. It's like there's too many people telling people what to do. It's like, can everyone just live? Can everyone just like do their fucking thing? Just say, I don't know.
We're telling guys how to tackle now.
It's like, dude, the football's been around for a century. Like, they know this. They didn't wear helmets. In fact, rugby doesn't have helmets, right? Like,
Still doesn't have helmets.
This is just the sport. And guess what? Like, I'm bet you there's like stats out there about how like the head injuries have gotten worse. It's because you're trying to like when the less protection you have, the more efficient you're going to tackle, or the more wary you're going to be. Right? They have these freaking suits of armor on their head that make them feel invincible, and they go in head first.
Right.
And
you're not going to go in head first if you don't have a helmet on.
No. Like, and I don't know. It's always been a physical sport. And like, dude, they definitely had to change some things. Like the Steelers center from the Steel Curtain, or, the 70s, he played like 14 years, right? Hall of Famer. Like, that guy's head was fucked up. Like, he was just doing this every play, like that had to stop. But don't lose football. So the whole reason I brought this up is because I texted you. I was like, and the whole reason we started bringing this, like, I'm wrapping this all back around again, right? College football has been really good. And they have a lot of options right now. They can keep moving the conferences around. The schedules have clearly gotten better this year. Every week feels awesome, right? It's top heavy. The transfer portal is weird. You brought up a weird point about how, like, guys are there for 8 years. That's an NFL career. So,
yeah.
Which brings up, and that right there, right? I know COVID had something to do with it, but like the fact that they're playing longer and they're getting paid, those two things right there, that's interesting because that can compete with the NFL.
I think I agree. The only thing that I think will stop them from competing with the NFL and will level out college football to the point where I think the beauty of college football, college basketball, college baseball, any college sport is that any given year there is this subset of teams that are not normally really good that are really good. Like Missouri, the last 2 to 3 years, who's been one of the worst teams in SEC and in Power 5 football, is now top 10 and possibly going to make the playoffs this year. Now that guys are getting paid and that schools are getting supported by big boosters, do you think the programs like Alabama are going to drop off and in 10 to 15 years not be relevant? Because the boosters of Alabama cannot compete with the boosters of Florida, of UCLA.
Well, I don't know about that. Why not?
Because Florida is a better school that produces more successful people that are richer and wealthier,
maybe not,
and
Alabama
donate more money back to the school.
The Alabama gets a lot of money. I don't know if they were the example. I get your point, though. Yeah, that's a good point.
I would bet a lot of money that Florida boosters raise more money year after year for football than Alabama.
Really?
Alabama doesn't have people that can give that much money.
I don't know. You might know better than I do. That doesn't sound right to me. I think
I think if we continue on this path of unregulated NIL and conferences getting rid of the non-Power 5 ever having a chance, that the Alabama, the Ole Miss,
no, but you're forgetting
Arkansas,
something with this. It's not just about boosters. Like it's like, I think most of NIL is like ad money, and that depends on the market. That's why Alabama and Ohio State and Notre Dame, like that's why they're always going to be there, right? That's still, the money is where the eyes are, and those schools get the most eyes. So Florida does too, and booster money most definitely helps. Texas A&M, Texas, right? But that's a big part of it too. So like for that reason, those schools aren't going to drop off. Now it does create this, there's still more schools now, right? And people can move around, right? Guess what that is? That's the NFL. And they do it with these bigger stadiums, with cooler songs that go on, with less flags, with more energy, with more games. That's always what college football has been. But they didn't have the stardom power because the NFL was always obviously superior, right? But now that superior product isn't a superior product anymore. College football is more football. I don't care how more talented the guys are. We love that about the NFL. Like, we love our fantasy football teams. We love watching Justin Jefferson. But like, college football is a team sport. It's a fan-based sport. you live and bleed that team, right? And I think the one thing they have drawing back against us, sorry to keep going, but I texted you this too. I was like, yeah, the one thing is like not everyone went to an SEC school like we did, right? So they don't get to really be a part of that fandom like you can be for the Denver Broncos tomorrow if you wanted to, if you live in Denver, or the Eagles if your grandfather was, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but that's my 2 cents.
I also think though there's people that grew up in an area where there wasn't an NFL team, or specifically wasn't a great NFL team, and they grew up college football fans. I
Yeah,
mean, we have
totally.
many of our friends who ended up going to Florida, which obviously confirmed their passion for the Gators, but grew up Florida Gator fans.
Yeah.
If you were born in Nebraska, you are a diehard Nebraska fan.
Miami is a great example of it too. Like everyone loves the Hurricanes. Like everyone.
So I agree. I think the range is wider. I think there's a lot of
you're right.
people that get stuck with those shitty colleges.
Yeah.
And in the NFL, you have an even playing field with the salary cap and things like that. So there's always the chance to be the better team. And in college, you can get stuck being, you're from Idaho, you're a Boise State fan. Like that fucking sucks. But unless it's this year because you have the Heisman. But yeah, I think that college football is going to get better and better and better. I think they need to do something about NIL because it's going to get out of hand. But this direction that they're going towards 4 conferences with 16 teams in each, and having those 64 teams all play each other is fucking awesome. And when they get there, why can't it rival the NFL?
Why not college football? I'm way up on college football. I love what I've been seeing this year. College game day is amazing. Saban's great on it. Alabama's not as good. Georgia isn't as good. There's new teams in the mix. Like Oregon just beat Ohio State. Texas is the best team in football. People forget Texas.
It's the most competitive that college football has probably ever been.
I mean, and it feels like there's a lot of star players. Like even the Heisman race, it's not even quarterback dominated this year. There's 2 non-quarterbacks at the top of the list right now. Like there's just a lot of cool things going on with college football. And just by the way about Texas, like people forget Texas sucked. They were never ranked like for the past 15 years, and people were like, why isn't Texas good? It's Texas. So they've turned it around in the craziest way. Like they have the opportunity to be the new Alabama going forward.
Oh yeah.
Cool place
and
to
they
be.
will be.
Is that your prediction?
I mean, they've got Quinn Ewers this year, who's going to be a top 10 draft pick. Then they've got Arch Manning. Then they'll get the next guy.
I got a dark horse for next Alabama. Not a dark horse, but like you're not like nobody's saying that. I think it's LSU. I think LSU is going to be the staple. The athletes they're producing in the professional sports level is unreal. And when they won that game, like I saw Paul Skeens, he was like talking to a bunch of recruits. Like keep in mind, this is a football game. They're football recruits. But Paul Skeens, one of the best pitchers in the MLB, gets on the field, dating Livy Dunn. Everyone obviously knows who he is. And he's like, dude, come to fucking LSU. Like, stop fucking around. Like, this is where you want to, like, he had a mean look in his eyes. Like, it was pure passion. So I think there's a culture that's really grown there. It's been consistent for a good, 15 years now. And I think a lot of people's questions would be Brian Kelly. I personally love Brian Kelly, and I think he's a great coach. I figured you're going to bring him up. No, Brian Kelly's great. I think there's, I don't know.
Brian Kelly's got a ceiling. Brian Kelly is great because he's got a high floor.
I think that's a good word to use. Yeah,
a very high floor. You saw that at Notre Dame; they were always competitive, and at LSU they've been competitive. He's got a ceiling though.
He still loses games. A good amount of time. He loses games. Yeah,
I think Ole Miss lost that game more than LSU won that game.
It's good to have a coach like Brian Kelly because we're stuck with Billy Napier. Like it's hard to go, using the fucking claw machine and getting a good coach. Like, Brian Kelly.
You know what you're going to get with Brian
Kelly.
Like
that's a good thing to have. Like, that's why they moved on from Ogeron. He's like, yeah, hey, dude, you won us a national championship. Also, when we're not winning a national championship, like we blow, like we don't do a lot of simple things right. And Brian Kelly's a football coach. Like he's an offensive mind. He's been in the game for a very long time now. I didn't mean to diss Coach O like that. I love Coach O, but you get what I'm saying, right? Two completely different types of coaches.
Yeah, I agree. And
who knows who the next Florida one will be?
This was unless you had anything else,
no,
just to like go over the last hour.
Yeah.
I feel like this was a different kind of podcast that we ran.
Yeah.
And we hit the Cowboys and we hit the Eagles. We touched on a few other notable NFL things.
Yeah.
And we just talked about what we were interested in. I think we can move away from hitting every game.
I agree.
And getting more into what we find is interesting, because I don't really care what everyone else wants to hear.
No,
we have friends that like every single team.
Right.
But we don't have to talk about every team.
No, you're right. I like that too. And you know, we're not always going to have football season, as sad as that is to be. Like, we need to talk about just things. Just, you know, what if this was this way, right? We just talked about what if college football was better than the NFL. And listen, you and I have always been NFL first. I think if you say anything differently, you're an idiot. However, I think I'm now open to the possibility that college football could be the dominating sport of America one day. Why not?
I don't hate it, and I'm hypothetically open. It's hard to really imagine that the NFL would be overtaken by any other sport.
Very, very extreme. I mean, and like, listen, it's not going down just because we have bad things to say about it. If anything, I should phrase it of like, college football could be my dominating sport versus America. I can't speak for America. That's a hard ask, but I can speak for myself. And I've really, really, really loved and enjoyed watching college football lately. It just feels fun. Sometimes the NFL feels like a chore. Like, sometimes it really stresses me out. Not to mention playoff baseball. We can talk about it next pod. But yeah, that was a fun pod, Mike.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? I'll shout out the guy next to me who I've listened to do this podcast this whole time. He just actually, can we talk about him for a sec? I think he's a Zarapods. Yeah. So he's just starting his job this week, right? And he just like moved to Denver, like just got in the car and left. And I was like, he knew I lived here, so he'd have a couch for a bit. He didn't know you had to like apply to apartment buildings. He thought you just like signed up and got to move in. So that's been a learning experience. He's like a slave right now because he's just like knocked from a day's of work. Like, when you first start that job, dude.
Oh yeah.
You're Cade. It's a whole new routine. Not to mention he's been traveling and stuff. So, but I'm proud of our boy. You know, this is Kevin freaking Hawley. we've seen him in some spots.
I mean, we've seen each other in some spots, but we've seen Kevin Hawley, and now he is working in the corporate America world, making an impact on other people.
He's in like the 57th floor of the second tallest building in Denver. Like, just that's how it goes, folks. Like, you are who you are, and until you start a job one day, and then you're just everyone. No,
Kevin Hawley is still a special human being.
So special. Hasn't changed a bit. I think I've been very talkative tonight, because he's a easy guy to just. It's different, folks. We'll get him on next pod. He's a great human being. We got some good friends.
Yeah. I'll shout out Remy real quick. He texted me, honestly, just feeling bad for my heartbreak and also discussing his struggle. We didn't touch on the Bengals at all. Big time Bengals fan, probably the biggest Bengals fan that I know. We'll discuss it more on Thursday, but weird. And he's got to be feeling a lot of pain, like he has for pretty much his whole Bengals fandom.
No, they're not very good. I think I should maybe be more like Remy as an Eagles fan. I don't know how he's fully feeling. He can't be like out, right? Like, I don't think it's the same thing with the Eagles. Like, how could I be out with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown? How could the Bengals be out with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, right? Like, we're asking the same questions.
Agreed. We'll see.
Let's get Remy on. The Eagles play the Bengals week 8. Do you want to get Remy on then?
Let's book that.
Let's keep naming people to bring on the pod before Sean. just to see what happens.
At what point does Sean like find the link and like
he just
like
joins
sneak
the
his way
room.
on?
That would be awesome because he would come out guns a-blazing, and that's my favorite Sean. The Sean where he has like one thing he's mad about that he can talk for 20 minutes in just like raging fashion, like he's just spewing. It's like, keep going. It's great. Yeah,
The longer we make him wait, the better it's gonna be.
it's gonna be great. He's gonna come. Yeah, that's what we need. Don't tell him our plan, people. But all right, that's a podcast. We will see you guys on Friday morning. We'll film this Thursday after Thursday Night Football.
Deuces.
Peace out.